Welcome back to the most electrifying podcast in sports entertainment. I am Jamie, and I am your host of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast.
And I am Mark. I'm your other host and husband to Jamie. I have to take my accolades because I don't have a lot. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome back. This week, we're going to be covering AEW and WWE.
Surprise. For once, we're actually getting back to our normal doing both promotions, but I feel like with the conversation we had 20 minutes before we hit record, I feel like it's baby shit compared to what we're about to have here in about 2 weeks, because we are on the cusp of Wrestlemania. But
that's just the ending
that's just
of
the ending
Wrestlemania. Let's talk about the week of Wrestlemania. Okay,
we just picked up the pay-per-view for the Impact NJPW Multiverse. I can't even remember the name of it, but it's basically Forbidden Door with Impact and NJPW. It's got the entire card is stacked.
Oh yeah, Kushida and Josh Alexander.
They got Motor City
Machine Guns. Deonna Purrazzo.
United Empire is going to be there. Or I'm sorry, Aussie Open specifically is going to be there. I believe.
I don't remember seeing Aussie Open on there.
Yeah, they're fighting. God, I can't remember who they're fighting, but they're on it.
So that's Thursday.
That's
Thursday night. We have a fantastic pay-per-view set up, and then Friday, another fantastic pay-per-view with Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, which Ring of Honor, I just have to say, ever since Tony Khan purchased, has put on the most fantastic pay-per-views, and I can't wait because I'm pretty sure we're getting Eddie Kingston and Claudio. See what happens.
That's what I think. But also, even more so than that, touching back on the NJPW Forbidden Door Impact thing. So we had talked about because ROH is going to have the Reach for the Sky ladder match for the ROH Tag Team Championship. When we had originally spoken about that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when Mark Briscoe said something about it.
Yes.
We were kind of thinking about tag teams, and I brought up Aussie Open.
Right.
We thought that they weren't going to be in country at the time, but if they're going to be on in that Impact show, they're going to be in Los Angeles on Thursday.
Okay, so then there you go. Also, in Ring of Honor, Aussie Open came out and challenged
You're talking about
Christopher Daniels,
weekly episode on Honor Club that everybody should go and
correct on Thursday, which you absolutely should be watching.
$9.99, and if that's not a reminiscent of another streaming service that happened a long time ago that everybody thought was crazy.
This is so much better, though. This is so much better. Ring of Honor has put on nothing but just absolute great things.
Banger after banger after banger.
You got it. So on Thursday of the Ring of Honor TV show, again on Supercard or Honor Co-op.
Honor Club. It's a mouthful being a wrestling fan.
Yeah, there's a lot of honor, but a lot of not honor. Also, if you watch the show, at any rate, so we got Thursday, Friday, then we that brings out Aussie Open. That's what we were talking about.
Yes,
Aussie Open challenge Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal.
Yes, so that'll be on next week.
So I'm hoping that
this coming up week's Thursday.
That leads up again to the ladder match and them being a part of Supercard of Honor as well.
Right.
So that's Friday, which leads into Saturday. You have pay-per-view. Then premium live event, and then Sunday WrestleMania again, premium live event. So you're gonna get a shitload of content out of us come April.
Oh yeah, we're shooting for possibly 2 shows or 2 episodes that weekend. One to encompass kind of NJPW Impact and ROH pay-per-views, and then one to encompass all of WrestleMania. Who knows what's gonna happen? It's gonna be a lot of content. We're gonna be very busy. A lot of our friends are gonna be very upset that we haven't called them. And we didn't talk to him for 4 straight days because we're going to be in our little hidey holes.
Yeah, right. Our one weekly thing aside from wrestling that Mark and I personally do is play D&D. We've been doing that for like 4 years now, maybe even 5. And we actually are canceling that week because we already know it's going to be a heavy coffee and wrestling weekend. So expect a lot of, hopefully, great content.
Yes, we're canceling our nerd activities to do more nerd activities.
Divulge into more nerd activities.
But I think at this point, is wrestling a nerd activity? I mean, it's on mainstream television. It's one of like the most watched shows on cable TV. If you're talking about WWE, of course, you can make the argument about AEW. But it really is like one of the mainstays in primetime television. And it's been that way for, 30 years?
It has, but it's crazy because it's always been like a big stigma. And we live in a small town in Florida, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm sure it does. But personally, I only know like 2 or 3 people that really watch wrestling. Yeah. So it's funny, even some of the closest people that we do see every week, they don't watch it. So it's constantly one of those things where we're explaining it and it's just going right over everybody's head. So I don't know. I don't think it has been publicly understood, and widely loved for a long time, but it still, I think, is considered possibly a dorky thing.
It gets less flack than it did like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I felt like 10 years ago
you
couldn't be a wrestling fan because you got called every terrible name in the book.
I mean, growing up watching like in the Attitude Era, you would think that, kids wouldn't have gotten made fun of for watching stuff like that.
Oh,
but I grew up getting made fun of for watching stuff like that, because here's just a random shitty story before we start talking about the actual content of the show. When I was a kid growing up in 5th grade, my school had a project and we were to take, I don't know why, how Florida school systems can be. They don't have a lot of funding.
I know what you're talking about.
They gave us a bunch of food and told us to make something out of it. Some type of stage, some type of performance arena or something like that. So my closest friends at the time in 5th grade, they made like football stadiums and like football players and like cool things like that.
Yeah, normal cool kid thing.
Sure. I don't think this was ever cool, but maybe looking back it was. I used a walnut to make Devon Dudley.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
And I made a ring. And
I'm not gonna lie, you said a walnut. I was gonna make an Abdullah the Butcher joke.
Yeah, right. No, it was just Devon.
Same.
Huge Dudley Boys fan as a kid, even in 5th grade.
Walnut.
So we made like, one of my really good friends and we made like a table and we made the ring and we made the whole big thing, and nobody thought it was cool. I don't think we got graded very well on it because it was very hard to translate. Like, imagine 5th grade kid trying to explain to her like 60-year-old teacher
and
that
he gets told by another man to pull tables out from underneath a ring and put another 90-year-old woman through them.
I never thought that was weird growing up, but
it's
looking back, perhaps
it's kind of funny. We didn't think a lot of that shit was weird, like Mankind pulling his hair out in the middle of a match, or Stone Cold showing up with a Miller Lite beer truck and just hosing down, executives of a company, or Triple H drugging Stephanie McMahon and driving through a Las Vegas, drive-through chapel.
Yeah, or Stone Cold.
Nothing wrong with that.
Blowing up the like
he
tour
killed
bus.
Vince McMahon.
They had like that like huge bus that they used to like travel from place to place, the McMahons. And
are you talking about when they dropped the Jersey barrier on top of it and made the entire thing explode? Like,
yeah,
the
whole
fucking
thing
was made out of explosive material. I loved 90s wrestling.
But
couldn't do that now. Now it's different. Now you have people that, the weight of the Jersey barrier wouldn't technically make the C4 explode because it's only going to create. Just shut up and watch wrestling.
I know. Just enjoy the product. So let's talk about what we are enjoying this week and everything that's coming up. And what better way to do that than talk all things Bloodline? Woo! Things are getting fun, interesting. It wasn't really, it wasn't at all a Roman week. Roman's really been just more spoken about rather than being spoken to at this point.
Right.
I think they're just kind of like giving him his time off, letting the whole thing build around him. I think the story's
moved on from Roman at this point.
Exactly. It's more centered around the Usos, Sammy,
Cody.
Kevin Owens, and now Cody Rhodes.
He's finally interjected himself into the Sami Zayn's Kevin Owens drama that's been going on between the two of them. I feel like honest to God, like I wrote this down in my notes. I feel like that this entire storyline has gotten, ever since the match between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber, I feel like this entire storyline with the Usos, with just the all thing Bloodline, it feels like it's been like very soap opera. Like it really feels like I'm sitting with my cousin's wife on a Wednesday while my mom's at work and I'm not at school, and she's watching fucking General Hospital on TV.
Right.
Like
all my children.
On my eyes, I've been like, I don't know. I just, ever since that match between Roman and Sammy, I've just been like, okay, I'm like over this. Like, it's just, the magic is gone. Like, I feel like once they got there, it just after that, it went flat.
Yeah, right.
The entire storyline, even between Kevin Owens and Sammy, and this week completely changed that.
It did.
And another segment in WWE changed the way I felt about a match in WrestleMania. But this 100% has like completely got me reinvested in the storyline with Sammy and Kevin Owens.
Absolutely. And at first I was just like, why is Cody Rhodes getting involved in this? Like, He's being the new Papa Rhodes. He's being the Dusty
Right.
that gets everybody to no, like, let's get together.
He's being the dad, like, which is weird.
Yeah, it was a weird angle, and I thought that was odd at first, because there was so much talk about maybe, there would be like a trios match, a 3-way match between
Honestly,
Sammy
that's what
and
I
Roman
felt like
and
it was
Cody.
gonna. I felt like that's how it was building up, and I mean, we still have time. It still could go that way, but I felt like that's what they were initially going to do. Is they were going to have these 3 guys team up.
Right.
Kevin Owens and Sammy were going to be at odds the entire time.
Right.
And that was going to decide the outcome of the 3-way match.
And I was really
the trios match between them.
Worried about this match because I think that you just could not give it to Cody. You just couldn't. I don't think people would have liked that. I think it would have been better to just give it to Roman and just do whatever you can after WrestleMania.
Stay the course and just, move
I just
on to the
didn't
next
see it going
storyline.
well. So it was like, how can they keep Cody involved in this, indirectly? So it actually worked out really well. I think SmackDown started off very, very, very awkward, at least to me. The crowd wasn't feeling it.
They had the segment between the 3 of them.
Correct, yeah. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were out in the ring, and Cody Rhodes was trying to
keep
be
peace
the middle
between the 2 of them.
guy,
Yeah.
trying to, put everybody's perspectives, forward and think about what was going on. Of course, Kevin Owens was just not having it.
Oh, he played full part in it. It was the entire episode of SmackDown. He played that part.
But the beginning of it just felt like, oh God, like that was it was like 15 minutes. It was such a waste of time.
Yeah, it was
because
very
Kevin
deflating.
Owens just rolled out and was like, nope, I don't want anything to do with you. I told you I didn't want anything to do with you.
It completely, at that point, I was still like, this feud's doing nothing for me. This
it was
soap
weird.
opera,
I didn't like it.
like friends are friends thing, like for some reason it was killing me. Like, yes, I want to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens get back together and
right.
But at that point, I was just like, okay, you guys are like, been 2 weeks, you're beating a dead horse. Like,
exactly.
I don't know what's going on with this.
How
Either
long
shit
can
or
we
get
do
off
this
the pot.
for? And real quick before we move too much further on from what happened in the ring with the 3 of them, what was really cool was Cody Rhodes actually acknowledged the fact that Kevin Owens introduced him to the Young Bucks and kind of thanked him for it. I appreciate the fact that you introduced me to some people. To Kevin Owens?
Yeah, why would he bring up the Young Bucks? I mean,
he was just saying
they have no pivotal.
No,
thing
but
in this
he basically
WWE
thanked
storyline.
him for thanked him for introducing him to him. But yeah, so this was just basically like you said, beating a dead horse. Kevin Owens was like, fuck out of here, Cody. Like, why are you wasting your time?
I'm a big boy. Like, I'm making a decision like a big boy.
Exactly. It cuts and Kevin Owens is actually like going up to his car, like getting ready to leave. Again, Sami Zayn was like, why can't we just like do this? But again, here comes the Floyd the baseball bat. We're just beating this thing. Kevin Owens like, I'm out of here. So he drives off. You physically
I am mad
see
at Floyd
him
the
drive
baseball
off.
bat this week, 100%. We'll get to that.
So we'll get to that. So he drives off. We have to physically see him drive off. Of course, when I see that, I'm like, oh, he's coming. They're gonna make
I
us
thought
think
that was
he's
it.
gone.
Honest to God, I thought that was it.
Oh, I knew that was. There's no way he was coming back because Sammy had a confrontation, an eye-to-eye confrontation with Jay that was
I thought it was
set
supposed to be
later
a match.
No, it wasn't a match.
It was just
they were just going to talk about what happened.
So Adam Pearce was like, you know what? Instead of ending our wrestling show with a wrestling match,
They did not.
we're gonna do the same thing we've done like the past 3 weeks with the end of every show, and we're gonna end it with soap opera.
With a conversation.
Yeah,
Which
and
is okay.
Not gonna lie, it's sold really well, and the results of
It was
everything, how everything panned out. Obviously, it was the right decision.
Right.
It's just funny to me that we're at a point in wrestling to where the end, like the main event slot, is not all wrestling.
No.
It is wrestling and then another segment afterwards,
Exactly.
which is mind blowing that this wrestling storyline is mostly been segments and promos.
Exactly.
It hasn't been matches. The matches have been supplemental to the actual
But
storyline of building up into this.
Incredible, like kudos to the writing team and the people involved in the actual storyline. They did this so well, and that people are so involved in just the story.
This has been the best storyline that WWE has had in
I can't
probably
remember.
since the Attitude Era. Like, honest to God. And I'm not saying there hasn't been good ones in the past 20 years.
Right.
But this has probably been the most successful storyline that they've ran in WWE since the Attitude Era.
That's fair.
Like, I can't see how it couldn't be.
Right. They put a lot of time invested in it, but it's really panned out well, obviously.
And now we fast forward to the end of SmackDown to where, like you said, we have this segment. It's Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. They're having a confrontation. Jay's giving him the rigmarole.
Oh, yeah,
what everybody think it's going to be. And of course, it turns out it's what it turns out to be is it's Sammy and Jay start fighting each other. And Jimmy comes out, and the Bloodline just starts beating the hell out of Sammy. Which, again, is just like par for the course for Bloodline, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. And you all of a sudden, which you weren't expecting, you hear Kevin Owens' music plays. And they look up the ramp expecting him to be there, and he pulls the same shit Sammy's been doing for weeks, jumps in the ring with a black hoodie, throws it off, and starts laying waste to the Usos. And
stunners,
power bombs, and once the smoke's cleared, it's Sammy and it's Kevin Owens in the ring, and they're both looking at each other, and there's like a hush across the crowd. You look at the entire crowd, they're like looking back and forth between the Usos, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens just makes a beeline straight to Sammy, and holy shit, I have not heard a pop like that. Kevin Owens embraces Sami Zayn, and the crowd went apeshit.
Yeah.
It was I don't know, I can't even compare a pop. Like, I can't remember when a pop was so loud.
The last time I heard a pop like that maybe was like CM Punk debut in AEW.
I know when it was. Was when Sami Zayn hit Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
That is the biggest pop other than that.
Yeah.
That has happened with WWE.
Right.
That crowd went apeshit. We went apeshit. The neighbors who weren't watching it, I feel like, went apeshit.
It was very, very reminiscent of how Disney does their movies, where they give you,
Are we talking foreshadowing about who might be buying WWE? Because I've heard rumors that Disney is in the run for
maybe
fucking
that's
purchasing
why.
WWE.
Maybe that's why.
Could you imagine if WWE got bought by Disney? Oh my God, that's a whole fucking podcast. Go. I'm going to shut the fuck up.
Owned by Marvel, too.
Oh my God, shut up. He's still my nerd heart.
You threw me off. What was I saying?
The Hulk is going to fight Kenny Omega. Wait, no, wrong promotion.
That's the wrong company.
Well, we don't know. Kenny Omega's the contract coming up. I've had too much coffee.
Stop. Where was I going?
You were talking about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It was very reminiscent of Disney.
Okay, so
gotcha.
Disney.
Yes,
you brought me back. Disney, they like to take their movies and they like to just slaughter Bambi's mom. Right, they like to make sure that the saddest part happens right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and this whole Sami Zayn thing has been like one giant Bambi slaughter.
But also just boring as shit. Like I said, like the beginning of SmackDown was so cringy, and like I don't want to be that podcast that's like, God, this is awful.
We do.
But
we try to focus on the positive.
That was awful. With like honestly, the three of them in the beginning of the ring at the beginning of the show, I was like, what the hell was that?
To be crystal clear with everybody, we have had a very difficult time for probably 3 weeks ever since, honest to God, Elimination Chamber. We've had a very difficult time keeping our interest with WWE, both SmackDown and Raw.
It's been tough, when maximum male models are keeping me interested so hard that's what I'm looking forward to is OTs.
I'm still not sold on OTs and maximum male models.
God, it's so good.
Is it?
It's so good.
I feel so bad.
I'm gonna sell you on that, and I'm gonna sell you on QTV. And again, that's the wrong promotion too.
QTV.
I'm gonna sell you on that.
I just don't think I've seen enough of it.
Well, there was only one episode.
I know. I just don't think I've. You know me. I don't like change.
I like it.
I like everybody to stay the same.
I like when wrestling makes me go, oh, because I feel like WWE has programmed me for so long to think that things are going to go a certain way. So when something goes differently than you think, I get really excited. When the Guns retained the championship, the tag team belts,
right?
Stoked. I was so excited because I felt like everybody thought that they were going to lose it. And everybody was so mad. And I was so excited because I didn't expect it. I love it.
But tell me that this instance with the whole Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn thing, my brother who has even come close to a dirt sheet, has been in the back of their mind, oh, they're going to go for the tag title.
Of course, of course.
But
that's why they made you feel.
Of it was though. With this, it was.
That's why they did it the way they did.
Exactly the way that you would think it would happen.
Exactly.
And it works perfect.
And they're doing the
exact. Because sometimes it works that way. It works perfect that way.
They're doing the exact same thing with Dominic and Ray.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh my God, how long is this going to go on?
They're just teasing
Oh my
it along.
God, why won't Ray just say yes?
But
why
it's
won't
gonna
Ray just
happen.
say? But when he does, the pop, The
know what I think it's going to happen?
insinuation of the WrestleMania match happening got such a big pop, and then he was like, I can't fight my son.
I'm calling it right now. It's going to happen. It is not going to happen on Raw. It's not going to happen to SmackDown.
No.
It is going to happen. No. It is going to happen the night before at his WrestleMania induction.
Yeah.
Because they have the inductions the night before WrestleMania. So that means Friday night, Dominic Mysterio is going to pull some shit. And he's going to finally be fed up because he interrupts his induction to the Hall of Fame. And he's going to be like, all right, you want a match? You've ruined the one thing.
I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Has anybody ever, like, kayfabed into the Hall of Fame?
What do you mean? Like, they weren't supposed to get into the Hall of Fame and then they...
No, like, got into the Hall of Fame and then they, like, did storyline during it. I don't think they've legitimately ever done anything like that. That would be so fun.
The only thing I can think of, and this is, rest in peace, was when they brought Ultimate Warrior out. I think it was like the SmackDown before the Hall of Fame induction.
Yep,
then he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and then I think it was actually the next day or 3 days. It was like 3 days later or something like that. He ended up passing away.
Yeah.
But I think he's the only one that's had like, I don't know, and that's just me just pulling off the top of my head. But I think that honest to God, I'm calling my shot. That's what I think they're doing, is they're going to build this up, because the only way that Rey Mysterio is going to be brought to that level to fight his son is when his son ruins something that is a once in a lifetime, that cannot ever be done again. That is something that he has worked so hard for.
And he does keep saying, like, I'm really bummed that you're not going to be there,
and
like...
Dominic has always been complaining about him not being there, and he had to do that in order to get the Hall of Fame induction.
See, I personally thought, and I think you're honestly more right than I am, I've been thinking that it was going to be like Dominic's mom.
I was hoping that's what it was going to be.
It's going to take somebody else to come out and be like, Ray,
but
it's okay. Like, you can fight our son. Like, it's good. Like,
they said something, once they announced him getting into the Hall of Fame, I had an inclination that was they were going to go that route, because it's too good. It's too juicy.
It is.
Could you imagine,
but
like,
so
history
unique.
Books? Exactly.
It makes you want to watch the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right. It's almost like they designed it to be this way.
It's really good, and there's a couple really, 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 really great storylines going on right now. That those two are definitely a part of that. But wow, like we said before, you brought us to our lowest of lows, to almost to the point where I'm like, I don't even care if Sammy wants to be on Kevin's side, and then they embrace in the middle of the ring, and I'm like, that was beautiful.
Team Sammy, Kevin Owens.
That was beautiful.
Team Montreal
Boys, baby.
Fuck Montreal. That's just on a hockey side. Not like anybody from Montreal. I don't actually hate you. Just fuck the Habs.
Okay, another really good storyline that's happening between SmackDown is everything between Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther. So basically, to set you up, for those of you who aren't paying attention to WWE lately.
Why are you listening to this if you're not paying attention?
Well, maybe we're catching them up and they're just not able to really
good point.
Listen to it, Maybe you had some things to do, you haven't had a chance to watch it, and this is opportunity.
Everybody doesn't keep up to this shit on a moment's basis.
No, I don't think everybody spends every day during the week watching wrestling.
Oh my God. What's wrong with us?
Yeah. If you do spend every day during the week watching wrestling, make sure you follow us on Twitter. We're at CAW Wrestling Pod, not only on Twitter, but also on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Find us there, or go to coffeeandwrestling.com.
And we live tweet every Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage. We're probably going to end up doing Impact, Ring of Honor, GCW here next month. But
yeah,
I don't think
that good stuff.
I don't think we're going to be live tweeting GCW. We're going to be attending GCW.
We're going to be attending it, but at any rate, let's get back to WWE.
Back to the point at hand.
So basically 2 weeks ago, we were set up with a 5-way match. I have to remember everybody that was in it, but Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, long story short, both were able to pin their opponents at the exact same time. There were 2 referees there. They both said that they won.
Conveniently.
I thought it was really cool because, again, it got me. I'm like, damn, that doesn't happen. Like,
I thought when the ending happened, it was corny originally. When both of them got the win, and both refs were like disregarding the idea that the other ref is raising the other guy's hand. I thought it was a little bit campy.
Okay.
But again, I guess I can't talk too much because I enjoy goofy wrestling, so sometimes you do have to deal with the campiness.
It was cool. The last time something I can think of happened that close to this was when one of the trios matches happened, and Kenny Omega and Pac pinned people almost at the same exact time, and Kenny ended up getting the win outside of the ring
because it was a Falls Count anywhere.
He did the one-winged angel on Ray, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, through the table off like the entrance or something
like that. And he won, and then Pac thought he won at the same time. But this actually was legitimately, they both pinned their opponents, at the exact same time. They both won. And Gunther was like, there's no way I'm facing both. I only need to face one of them. So Adam Pearce said, it's official. The two of them will fight next week. So that brings us to this week on SmackDown, where Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are now fighting each other. Now, these guys are friends in real life. It's a very Sammy KO situation between the two of them in real life.
Now, these guys, and they're very similar movesets. Like, it makes sense. They're very, very, honest to God, they're very similar wrestlers. They're both of
leg heavy.
Yeah, they're leg heavy. All right. Big dudes. They hit hard. They yell a bunch. I thought the matchup between the two, not very far. They both sound very similar, but they were just this was a really good pairing, obviously, and it went a direction that I think you and I had no idea it was really going to go. I mean,
no, because I didn't know who was going to win this.
When the antics began, when Gunther ended up rolling into the ring, when both of them were down and started yelling, I think both of us knew that's where it was going, and then obviously he had them attack him and cause the DQ.
Right, Imperium
and
attacked.
Instantly we knew, like, oh, it's going to a 3-way at WrestleMania. But what a refreshing way to do it that way.
Wow. Like, it wasn't, it went exactly the way you thought it was going to go, but not in exactly the manner you thought it was going to go down in.
Oh, yeah.
So you ended up getting yay, we do get the 3-way.
Well, they did the classic WWE, we're going to set up these two to fight each other, and they're like, okay, one's going to win, we're going to have a one-on-one. That's usually what ends up happening. And it didn't.
Right. It's exactly like we said. It wasn't what we thought. So
maybe having Vince back isn't a bad idea.
No, I don't think this has anything to do with Vince.
It's the mustache. I'm telling you, it's the intelligence comes from the facial hair.
Do you remember though? Who's working on SmackDown now?
Who is?
The man.
Becky Lynch?
The legend. William Regal.
We're not allowed to talk about that. He's not supposed to be on screen.
We
don't
can
know
talk
that.
about him. He's just not on screen.
Can we talk about it?
What do you think? Tony Khan's going to sue us or something? Tony Khan, we're big fans.
There's a reason why Tony Khan told him he can't be on screen with any other company for a year.
Well, yeah, because it's William Regal, and that's just going to sell so many seats and asses. Or asses and seats, excuse me.
So many seats and asses.
Asses and seats.
That's a whole different, that's a GCW show.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, WrestleMania, we're going to see Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther going for the Intercontinental title. And I also have to comment, like, what a way, and I don't think we're talking about Austin Theory in this episode, but what a way to elevate both the Intercontinental title and the United States title back to the prestige of being a belt.
These are not B-rate titles by any means. So it makes you really want to see what happens with these titles and the people that are defending them. I mean, oh God, Gunther is just so entertaining, and the slaps that are going to happen at WrestleMania are going to be so good.
Oh yeah, these are three of the hardest hitting guys they've got in WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to talk speculation and everything as far as like, well, who we think's going to win and do our predictions and everything, I'm sure later. But do you think that Gunther's going to retain at WrestleMania?
No. I won't say where I heard it from, but I heard, just somebody discussing this match today. I think that Gunther has done as much as he can with the Intercontinental title. I think he's given it a lot more steam, and I think it's time for Gunther to move on to bigger and better pastures. And again, that's not dismissing the Intercontinental title.
Sure.
But I think it's an opportunity to...
We're talking world title?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see him going, maybe not winning, but I could see him going up against Cody Rhodes.
And I feel like there was a lot of mention about how Sheamus has never won the Intercontinental title before.
Oh, that's right. So that
it could go that way. That would make perfect sense.
Okay. I honestly didn't have an idea of who would have won it, but I can't see Gunther walking out of WrestleMania with the title still.
Right.
If he does,
really
great.
fun.
I'll be happy with it if he is.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, I completely can understand it.
Yeah.
And either one, whether it's Shawn Michaels, whether it's Sheamus, or it's Drew McIntyre that does end up getting the belt, it's going to be good either way.
I think the best way to do that is have one of them pin the other. so that Gunther stays on top. He looks good. He's still strong and has the, just overness that he does.
Put Gunther in an impossible situation to where he couldn't. It wasn't him that gave up or got pinned.
Yep, and Sheamus pins Drew. And
right.
That
which would be great because even if you don't feel like moving him into anything other than just between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, you can still have them have that feud following this because they were comrades for the past probably 6 to 9 months. They've actually gone against Imperium numerous times.
Exactly.
So
since Sheamus got married, it's like Drew's been on his
right,
side.
And it'll be a great way to build up a small chunk of storyline between the two of them and the Intercontinental title, whether they transfer it back and forth between each other or they just do for another month or so.
The story continues, and then Gunther's able to find his own
right.
New
Gunther and Imperium move on to into a different territory. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be. The match is going to be great. Like these three are going to put on. It's going to be a hard hitting. I mean, Sheamus and Gunther put on. They put on one of the best matches last year of the entire year, 100% without doubt. And then Drew McIntyre's just a fucking amazing performer. It's going to be It's going to be a fucking bang.
Yeah.
Not to do the gimmick, but it's going to be a fucking banger. So we already know one main event more than likely is going to be Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. And Ric Flair, God bless him, ruined or spoiled. He
does this shit all the time.
He does it all the time. Said that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair is going to main event the other night, which I believe was going to be night one, which makes sense. You want the build up for Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes to be all the way to the absolute last second. So everybody watches every fucking second because they're going to have.
Great for the women, though.
Well, yeah, but they're going to have promos in between for the entire 2 days.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's great. I think putting the women's championship as the main event is the right thing to do.
I agree. People are really excited to see this match be included.
Oh, I am too. And I wasn't. This is another one of those ones where I was like, this is, and you're number one to be that person too. Was not excited about the feud between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley.
Like when it first happened, I was like, okay, cool. This has some actual legit storyline.
It first happened when Rhea Ripley won the fucking Royal Rumble. Back in early February?
So Rhea won the Royal Rumble, which gave her the opportunity to fight at WrestleMania, and she got to pick between Asuka and Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. It was her choice to pick, and she picked Charlotte. And again, I really liked this because she had fought Charlotte 3 years previously,
right,
and lost. Charlotte won, and she said, "This, I think, is my time now to where I'm not gonna lose." So I liked it. I was like, okay, there's actually some legitimate steam between with this match, and then they did nothing with it for weeks.
Charlotte
and weeks.
Didn't show up and anything. Rhea was on the Judgment Day business all the time.
Like even this week, I think it was. A Judgment Day had a match. It was Dominic and Rhea Ripley versus Santos Escobar and
that was
Selena Vega.
And that was on Raw, wasn't it?
No, that was on SmackDown.
Was it on SmackDown? Okay.
And if we weren't even going to talk about that, but if you have not had an opportunity to watch SmackDown, first off, watch the whole thing. If you can only watch one thing aside from KO and Sammy's just warm embrace, watch that match.
It's a good match.
It was really,
Selena Vega does not get enough credit for what she can do.
No, and what Rhea and Dom were able to pull off on their end was just phenomenal. Rhea is a beast, but she literally used Dominic as a weapon. It was just great. But,
classic big muscle mommy action, but yeah.
So just nothing. There's just nothing with Rhea's been busy, but nothing about Charlotte. And then it finally happened. Charlotte came out.
Coming out like a fucking neon highlighter.
It was interesting in those stilettos, and she basically was calling out Rhea. Rhea came out. They had a face-to-face confrontation, and they straight every wrestling promotion does this, okay, where they have their champion and they have their opponent, and they'll have that moment where security has to break them up because the two of them are fighting.
Right.
This either comes off really, really good, or it comes off really poor.
Yeah.
And you don't give a shit. You're just like, oh my God, end this segment. That added so much steam to this WrestleMania match. The confrontation between them. The when Rhea would just break away from everybody and jump on top, and then you look over and Charlotte Flair's on the barricade jumping on Rhea, and it was legit you felt like these two legitimately hated each other.
Well,
and this was
even
not
to go
storyline. It was so good.
Even just to go back to the promo, Charlotte Flair comes out, and obviously when Charlotte Flair comes out and she's not going to be involved in a match as far as we can tell, she gets a mic, like, okay, this is finally, we're going to see Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair have the one-on-one talk. You know what I mean? It hasn't happened, like you said, like it's far overdue. And Charlotte Flair comes out and just like they got to turn this girl heel again. Like she's so good as a heel. She's so borderline heel. And she cuts this promo that, and I mean, the nice thing about promos nowadays is you have to have truth to them. You can bend the truth a little bit, but what you say has to be true. Everything is fact checked. Every statistic,
scrutinized.
Wikipedias are out there.
Right.
Like the minute you do something in a match, it's recorded on cagematch.net. You know, it's on somebody's Instagram of when you won or lost and how fast and what move and how many, times it took you to,
and what the rating was
get
for
hit
it,
with it. So you have to have truthfulness to your promos to really drive them home because you have to have them bulletproof. And Charlotte Flair pulls that off so well. Like and again, you got to be able to bend the rules a little bit. You got to be able to like skirt around corners a little bit without, hitting the sides of yourself. And she does it so well. And she cuts a promo basically saying like 3 years ago, it doesn't matter whether it was 3 years ago or not. It's still the same shit, the same thing.
Right.
I'm still queen shit.
Of course.
I have the belt. I showed up. I got my belt back. And here the fuck I am.
Right.
She came out, puffed her chest out. Rhea Ripley comes out. And, of course, you got... At this point, I don't know who the heel is in this. Because Rhea comes out and the crowd pops. Charlotte's out there and the crowd pops.
Right.
And
they're
go
booing.
in there.
I don't know who he's booing for,
And
There's no bad person in this feud.
And Rhea cuts one of the gnarliest promos that she's cut.
It was great.
In recent times. And sometimes I forget that she's a former women's champion, world champion. But it feels like this is her first time. And it might be her first time with the Smackdown belt. But it still feels like she's like got something to prove in this.
Right.
And she's cutting this promo and tearing everything that Charlotte said to shreds. And Charlotte is standing there with like the most steel gaze, just staring a hole in fucking Rhea's face.
What a pro.
Oh my God, these two. And instantly within, it was maybe a 15-minute segment between the two of them, between when Charlotte came out and when they were done.
Right.
I was glued to the couch. I am so sold for this match.
Yep.
I am so excited that it's a main event, according to Ric Flair. And Ric Flair hasn't been wrong since he's been leaking shit. I am
it's
instantly
worthy of the spot,
has made my nipples hard. I am so into this. Like WrestleMania, I don't know how WWE does this. We have kind of talked shit about it for like weeks of like how they haven't had anything announced. This is
they break you down. They break you down. They break you down. It's like the military. You've told me this is like the military.
Yeah, they break you down into nothing, into a pile of jelly, and then they go, "We've got you here," and they form you into exactly
Kevin
what
Owens
you want.
And Sammy are gonna hug in the middle of the ring, and
you're just a kid with a candy cane, and you're just happy.
I didn't know I needed that.
I know, and it's so good. But this match is going to be a great match, no matter what. I'm excited for it. I'm actually getting super excited for WrestleMania finally.
Agreed.
And this is matches like this with storyline and things for wrestlers to prove and like things for fans to care about. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I understand, and I've said this numerous times, and I'm sure somebody like rolls their eyes whenever I say this, but I do believe that this is what AEW is missing, like long-term storytelling. Like they have stories that last, or they start, 2-3 weeks, and then they're done after, 4 or 5 weeks. The storylines are they're done. We're moved on to something else. There might be something else a couple weeks later. But I feel like WWE has a better handle to where they can make you want something for longer.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
They may not. And I think there's good and bad to it, because you either have a product like WWE where it feels like sometimes you're unfulfilled for 2-3 weeks at a time, but the payoff, you're like, oh my God. And then AEW, it's almost like an instant gratification. You're getting, like what they've already announced, and we'll talk about, Kenny Omega versus Vikingo. It's just like a flash in the pan, and it's like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening.
Well,
it's a dream match, but there's very little long-term storyline telling.
I hate to be that guy, and we'll talk about this too, because we're getting ready to talk about AEW. There is something that happened that is long-term storytelling in AEW that happened on Dynamite this week that is going to counter what you just said.
Well, let's talk about it then.
You want to talk about that?
Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So, this week on AEW, we were blessed to have the House of Black versus the Elite versus the Jericho Appreciation Society.
There's a lot of dudes in this match. A lot of people I enjoy watching.
Mm-hmm.
And honest to God, when they announced that it was going to be a 3-way trios tag match, I honestly thought it was going to be too much.
I agree.
But I forget that they run with the rule that 2 participants in.
Correct.
And you can tag anybody out.
Doesn't matter if it's your team.
Except for the other person that's on the same team.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's on your team or the opposing team. You can tag out at any point to the opposite side. So it's really cool. It's a fun way to do it. And it was in Canada. So
right.
This was home for Kenny Omega, Don Callis, who obviously wasn't in the match, but
no.
Chris Jericho. They were all from
Hometown Heroes.
Exactly.
By the way, speaking of Hometown Heroes, can we just talk about, and Don Callis, can we talk about Takeshita's welcome to the
please
to the Montreal airport when Takeshita gets off a plane? It's a short skit, and you have Don Callis there. He has this very pretty woman presenting Takeshita with a bouquet of roses.
Yes.
And then you have an Asian man beating, I'm assuming, a traditional whatever drum to some beat, and in the middle of an airport, and there's just people around taking videos of this, and I couldn't imagine who these people, I don't know if
Takeshita is.
Because it obviously wasn't just crew, and it was an airport.
Absolutely
There's
not.
people
it was
filming
legit.
So what did they do? There's film out there or footage. Nobody knows what that means when I say film, but there's footage out there of Takeshita and Don Callis just having this conversation, welcome to Montreal.
And it seemed like Takeshita legitimately got startled by Don Callis and was just okay, yay.
It looked like he got off the plane and legitimately was greeted with this. It was funny as hell.
We saw ROH live, and Takeshita came out. We didn't know he was going to be there. And he walked out, and he had that same face that he made at Don Callis. He was so overwhelmed. I think that people were cheering for him so loudly, and we were all so excited. He had that same face, oh shit.
Which is insane, because he's had that match with MJF, and oh my God, it's the only person that I think everybody wanted him to win and get the belt over.
Absolutely, Takeshita's great, but yeah, that was absolutely hysterical.
All right, let's steer this ship back.
They're in Canada,
let's steer the ship back to where
Kenny
we were.
Omega and Chris Jericho, of course, are going to have some great heat in this match. What I thought was by far the most fun interaction was between Buddy Murphy and Kenny Omega. They just had great heat.
Oh, yeah. And talk about two performers that if you put these two in a singles match, they'd tear the house down. Buddy Matthews is an absolute amazing
He's
athlete.
so good. He's so good. And I think the internet has claimed for years that Buddy Matthews is the next Kenny Omega, and as far as his moveset and
right,
that he is the younger Kenny Omega. So to see the two of them go back and forth with each other was so fun.
And not for nothing, I could see him turning on the House of Black first, because obviously you never know, House of Black could last forever, but I could see storyline wise later on down the road, in order to shake up the House of Black a little bit, I could see Buddy Matthews of everybody turning tide on the other two.
Yeah, possibly.
Before anything else happens.
Possibly, but we are going to run with the three of them having the trios.
Oh, I'm in love with it.
Right now.
Everybody knows how I am about big meaty men, and then you throw some tattoos on them and some hardcore music. I am in love.
They have AEW has made Brody a legitimate monster. They have spent so much time. I think it became more legit when Brody was basically the only House of Black member, and he had to hold the house down. He had that feud with Darby Allin. I think was the shift.
Oh God, that put him over so much.
We were huge Brody fans from the beginning, but I think everybody took the seriousness
He turned into an AEW staple after that feud.
Overnight. So this match, he had so many instances where he just came in and everybody else just darted.
By the way, because he had also had a match with Daniel Garcia later on in Rampage. Came out to he's in a band, God's Hate. Came out to Be Harder.
His own song.
What an awesome song to
come out to. It was really cool.
Oh, so good. But yeah, this trios match, I was a little bit tired going into it, and then 3 seconds into this match, I was sitting up watching. It was great.
It woke you up, and there was nobody who didn't perform at their absolute best.
Yeah. Everybody looked great in the match.
Everybody looked phenomenal.
It wasn't a one-sided thing, but everybody looked great. Obviously, House of Black retains. Thank God.
Thank you.
I'll hail the House of Black.
But,
love it.
Like, during it, there was...
I'm biased, but I don't care.
Yeah, there was, like, backstage, like, brawling that they kept referring to that was happening between the Dark Order and...
Blackpool Combat Club.
And the Blackpool Combat Club. So it was...
Further setting up that feud.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things where, like, it cut to the backstage and they were showing the brawl during that trios match we were just talking about, and it was like, that was kind of weird. And then it actually tied into exactly what I was talking about. Some long-term storytelling.
Right.
Where the Elite were in the ring by themselves, and they were in the ring with Hangman Adam Page, and we were left with the question of, are they
Is there love in this relationship still?
Are they back? And that, I think, exactly what we were saying before.
What are they called? The oh God, it's good. The Hung Bucks. They're called the Hung Bucks.
Yeah.
God, what a good name. What a good tag name. Oh, the Young Bucks, like, it's like they shit good ideas.
They do.
Like, they really do. And
people give them so much shit. But
have you heard of the company they have part in?
I know. You guys
all
loving
under
it?
Wrestling
it's
or something like that?
because of the 3 people you give shit to all the time. But it set it up for exactly like I was saying, for some long-term storytelling, because the Young Bucks have always had something going on with Hangman Adam Page, and then Hangman Adam Page had a tag team with
He was tag
Kenny
team champions
Omega.
with Kenny Omega. Well, I'm going to counter your long-term storytelling with some short-term storytelling.
Sure.
And I brought it up earlier, but I
Okay.
think it just needs to be mentioned again because, my God, short-term storytelling or not, this is going to be a banger of a match. It's Kenny Omega versus... Okay, let's see if I can get this right. Del Hijo El Vikingo.
Yes.
Ooh, what a mouthful. I've avoided saying this man's name on this podcast for 41 episodes because I knew I was going to butcher it.
Now, here's a match that people are saying there's no storyline behind this. Like, how did you set this up? And this is already happening on Dynamite.
I'm going to give you a secret. Fuck cares? Just let the goddamn guys wrestle.
Well,
have you seen this man wrestle?
1000%.
Have you seen this man wrestle?
Obviously, you haven't if you're on Twitter complaining about it.
He is like, if you're on Twitter, how do you not see him? He is like a Tony Hawk pro skater, but without the skateboard, and he's wrestling.
He reminds me a lot,
It's
and he's
insane.
had a lot of matches between this man, but he reminds me a lot of a young Ray Fenix.
Yeah, if you like put the speed up to 150,
He's very quick, like Dante.
and like
Dante Martin.
precise. He does shit where he'll be running across the rope, drop down in the middle rope, launch with his inside foot, and do like a cartwheel with a backflip.
Uh-huh. He does that like where you like hold on to your thighs and do like the front flip.
Oh yeah,
off the top rope.
he
AR
uses,
does that.
Well, and what that is you're literally using physics by creating, when you jump, a long weight distribution, and then when you suck in real quick, it launches you he's able to complete like 2-3 rotations.
It just looks really cool.
It's so good.
Like, let's be
so
real.
Good. And he's what, 25?
He's 25. This match was supposed to happen in a singles match between Kenny Omega in 2021.
Yeah.
But ended up getting canceled. I think something obviously happened with Vikingo's schedule.
And the guy's
he's a busy guy.
Oh, yeah.
He goes from promotion to promotion.
He's
constantly.
in different promotions. He is, obviously he's
living the dream,
He's, very, very, demanding of his body. So I'm sure, he can't just go around to everywhere in the world. So I'm sure this is one of those things that they just happen to say, hey, we realize that he's got an open block of time that he can get away.
Him up,
Let's do this match.
And like I said, they've been trying to have this match since 2021. The last time that Kenny, I don't know if you knew this, that Kenny Omega had a singles match was that same year 2021,
Right.
in the same arena that they're going to be fighting in on Wednesday.
No shit.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I think it was Allen Angels was the last singles
really?
match that Kenny Omega had.
Well, if you're a fan of wrestling, you should tune into AEW on Dynamite to watch this, because it's for sure going to be, unless they're doing something to set up some storyline later on, which I don't think they're going to do that, but this is going to be possibly one of the matches of the year. At least something that's on TV.
Absolutely.
If you need any convincing of that, just go on any wrestling Twitter. Go follow, if you follow us on Twitter, look at the people we follow, and a lot of them will retweet. Wrestling Flow Vision, he's a good one. But everybody retweets this. The Vikingo guy, he is absolutely insane.
So, to continue the discussion about Canada and people from Canada,
Canada.
Jade Cargill, who's not from Canada, challenged somebody from Canada
Okay. Oh, that bit's over?
Good Lord. To a match for her TBS championship.
And of course, we all knew exactly who it was going to be.
Nicole Matthews. Yeah.
Of course. The classic Canadian wrestler, Nicole Matthews.
Poor girl.
She was about 6 inches shorter than Jade and was dispatched in about...
minute 15?
I don't even know. I think that was the other one. I think that was but I think it was like something like 30 seconds.
Okay.
It wasn't much.
It wasn't.
Jade basically talked shit, kicked her in the face, then hit her with the jaded.
Yep.
And
everybody was like, what was that?
Now, I know at this point everybody knows who debuts after this, but I feel like this was a little bit underwhelming. I just felt like, man, and I understand why they did it, but it was kind of one of those things. I was not too happy with how it got to where it got. Because she just absolutely murders this girl after they promoted this, because it's going to be a Canadian champion, the best Canada has. And obviously it's a heel move with Jade, because that's just how she is.
Yeah, she threatened to beat up Renee because she was from Canada.
Right. And then, Taya Valkyrie comes out.
Right. And
it was like, okay, great. We got to where we were going anyways, and we now know, obviously, this is where where Jade's next big match is going to. But it just kind of felt a little weird. Like, they built this up like, oh, make sure you watch because she's going to fight this Canadian legend. And it just, I don't know.
They didn't say legend. They said the
best.
I
know they didn't say, but the way they sold it, though.
Canada's best,
But that's obviously wrong.
Well, I mean, of course it was, and that's why Jade made the mention of it. I think they were just trying to be like, oh, surprise,
maybe I'm mad.
We did do it.
Maybe I'm mad because I got swerved a little bit thinking it was going to be Taya immediately.
Oh, probably.
Maybe I'm just a mad mark.
Probably, yeah. You're just upset with the situation, but
fuck you, Tony Khan.
It did end up being Taya Valkyrie, who is going to be probably the biggest threat to Jade Cargill and her undefeated streak and her TBS championship. So,
do you think she'll drop the title to Taya?
I don't know, because every time Jade gets a big, person to go up against for her title match, I think that's it. I really, really thought Athena was going to be the one to take it from her.
Right.
So I was wrong every time. So I don't know, but I think we're at a moment where something new needs to happen with Jade.
Yep.
I don't think it's
something
bad.
New needs to happen with the belt.
Yes.
I don't think obviously something new needs to happen with Jade, but I think something new needs to happen with the belt. I think you have two chunks of professional wrestling that could be used for storyline, and they're stuck in one rut.
What's great about Taya is she is somebody else who just tours, loves to work for different promotions.
Just finished up with Impact not too long ago.
Had a phenomenal run with Impact. She's definitely somebody who would make a great fighting champion, like Jamie Hayter is being played off to be. I think she would do a phenomenal job as the champion and have a really good match with Jade. I hope they let them have a good match regardless of what happens. But, my worry is, are they going to build that up all the way until Double or Nothing?
Right.
We're going to have this where it's just,
and not
Jade
just that.
gets all the way up to 59-0 and she's going to be the 60th, or, what are we going to do?
And not just that, is it too quick to have Taya just show up in AEW and then have her get the belt? Because I feel like at this point where we've already teased, because Taya's used the Jaded twice.
Which I like. Mark Sterling didn't like it.
Right. But, we're obviously getting really close to a match with these two, and I feel like it's going to be a Dynamite. I don't think it's going to build all the way up to Double or Nothing.
Right.
I think it's going to be on a Dynamite. It's going to be on a Grand Slam, or it's going to be on a Winter is Coming, or it's going to be on a beat them up in the streets and fuck them in the sheets Dynamite.
Some gimmicky Tony Khan match.
And but I think it has to be. I don't think you can do it on, like, honestly, it's a TBS championship. Like, I feel like it has to be defended on TBS. It's like the TV championship.
I suppose so.
I always thought it was weird when the TV championship was fought on or defended on a pay-per-view. But it's a TV championship.
But the TBS championship needs the Gunther special. It needs somebody to come in there and make this a prestigious championship. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that there's no steam behind it. But when you've only ever had one person who's undefeated hold it, I don't think there's...
How far can you go with it?
I don't think anybody's worried about missing a Jade Cargill match because we all know that she's just going to win.
Right.
And I don't think that's good. I think that's why I've been loving the defense and changes of the TNT championship.
Right.
Because 1 week it'll be on Darby Allin, and then now, just a few weeks later, it's on Will Hobbs.
Hobbs.
What happened and all this? It's changed 3 times.
But
I love it
nice.
because you have to watch the matches because this could change hands.
Right.
It very well could have changed hands when Will Hobbs defended it to Ray Phoenix
that
on
match
Rampage.
Was fucking awesome.
It was great.
And it started off like it wasn't going to be. It started off like a small high flyer fighting a mountain of a man, and you thought it was only going to be like a few minutes, and these two put on a clinic on how to properly put on a big man versus a small man match.
Ray made Will look so good, like he always does. He makes everybody look good.
But Will did the exact same the other way.
He did.
They got Ray to hit a German on Will.
Ooh,
and it was
pop I made. Wow, it was phenomenal.
It really was a great match between the two of them. Obviously, Will Hobbs ends up winning and keeping his title, but it was great. It could have genuinely. He could have lost it on Rampage. Oh, 100%.
Wouldn't have been surprised.
But it was
so
good because Ray Phoenix, he's in a tag team. He's going to be doing the ROH Reach for the Sky ladder match. I'm sorry, that was my text message. But he was able to take the loss and not lose any momentum.
Right.
Because it didn't have anything to do with the storyline he's involved
right.
with.
But Penta's really good at that too.
But it was a AEW star that was, fresh in everybody's minds that were like, oh shit, it's Ray Phoenix.
That's what I love about AEW, and I think my favorite thing right now is they'll take a veteran like Ray and they'll take a newbie in a sense like Will and put on a match like that, and like you said, let Ray take the loss. Doesn't do anything for Ray. Nobody's going to be like, wow, I can't believe you lost that match.
Right. No,
look at Daniel Garcia and Brody King this week.
I don't want to talk about that.
Wow. I loved it. And again,
I loved it too.
Huge Brody fan.
Brody King only get one baseball hit to the head.
I know. He deserved about 5.
Come on.
It's
Brody goddamn King.
But Daniel Garcia won.
The dog's barking. It's too late.
But it was really good. It was really good. So they're good at doing stuff like that. Making you edge of your tootsies.
Well, hopefully they do that with Taya Valkyrie and Jade. Hopefully we do something with this title. Hopefully this feud isn't just a flash in the pan and it's, and then Taya Valkyrie just becomes a face in the crowd and ends up being on Dark, because I feel like that's what happens with everybody that goes against Jade Cargill for the TBS championship is they just, if they're not already an established star, like they get their moment and then they get squashed and then we're all like, well, yeah, it's the same thing as the last 53 matches.
And the women's division is interesting right now with like the divide between the old AEW stars and the new AEW stars. So.
I'm still not sold on it yet. I don't know if I like it with the Outcasts.
No, but it's one of those we gotta hold on. We gotta see what happens with the whole thing.
Ruby just joined them, and now I don't know. It's a storyline that's got to develop, and like you said, it's fresh.
Getting back into oldies versus newbies and all that good stuff. When you talk about AEW and you talk about the pillars of AEW, you have 4 men. You have MJF, Darby Allin, help me out here.
Ricky Starks,
and
Jungle
Boy. Thank you. Well, we should be calling him
Jack Perry.
So this week,
I don't know why I yelled that. I'm so sorry.
Dynamite.
I just blew anybody wearing headphones. I just blew their eardrums because
why not?
Leroy Jenkins.
This week on Dynamite, something interesting happened as far as MJF had a bar mitzvah. Didn't know you did that. If you
Isn't
haven't
he
seen,
like 30? No, he's in his 20s.
Yeah, he's still in his 20s. If you have not seen
A bar mitzvah?
the pictures from MJF's bar mitzvah,
Oh my God, it was such a...
Go to Twitter, go to MJF's Twitter, and look through the fantastic photos that he includes. His parents must love him so much. Even
Pay
though
special attention to when they had him up on the chair and they were all singing the song that they sing. Pay attention when you're looking at it to the long-haired man on the right-hand side that looks like that he is doing everything he can to make sure he doesn't drop MJF. And boy, is he getting real close to dropping. He struggles. It was the entire time that I was watching.
I was nervous.
I was like waiting for MJF to spill out of that chair.
Yeah. So he comes out. He's got glasses on. He's pretty much covering up his face.
Where did that hat come from?
I don't know. Very Jamiroquai hat.
MJF Jaquai?
Mm-hmm. It was interesting. It was like the Burberry, but it was like the Jamiroquai hat.
Right.
You know, the fuzzy, like...
And he had the big, like,
yarn hat.
Haterade glasses.
We find out later why. But yeah, he comes out. He talks about this is his bar mitzvah. And Jack Perry is the first one to interrupt him and say that he deserves a chance at the belt. And it just...
Well, before he even says anything.
Gets thrown in, then Sammy Guevara comes in, and then, I don't know, maybe Darby
I
comes
said Ricky
in.
Starks, I meant Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, Sammy
Somebody's
Guevara.
Yelling at us.
Yeah.
Our wrestling fan card's just been revoked.
Yeah, so now we have the 4 pillars of AEW, and the other 3 are asking.
Angry.
Not really asking, demanding a chance at the championship, at MJF's championship. I don't know what they're doing with this, but it makes it interesting because, are they going to do something where everybody's involved? All 4 men are involved. Are they going to pick it just one feud at a time? It gives MJF multiple storylines to run at the same time.
I feel like this is AEW finally picking up a chunk of storyline that has been laying out in the open for a while, that is finally aired out enough that we've all forgotten about and have now brought it into light. The 4 pillars storyline, which everybody is, kind of in the back of their Twitterverse has like fantasy booked how that would work. Who would fight who would eliminate who in a tournament, or how would they end up determining who would do this? So now we're looking at what AEW has been building up for 3-4 years. They've been building up these homegrown stars. MJF, who he's been in GCW, he's been in MLW. Everybody's been on the indie scene. If you still consider MLW and GCW and all these promotions the indie scene, but you've finally taken your 4 pillars of your company, the 4 guys that every single person has been getting behind, and have now put them in a storyline. And I think this is the right way to go. I think we're coming up on the time to like pass the torch onto the next chunk of people to carry the company for the next year.
Right.
WWE's coming up on that with WrestleMania. WrestleMania is like the end of their quote unquote season. Obviously they do it by, the beginning of the year, but the WrestleMania season starts after WrestleMania. That's when the build up to WrestleMania, because everybody wants to have the match at WrestleMania. Everybody wants to headline WrestleMania. And it's the same thing with like AEW. They have, now it's time to pass the torch on to the next set of storylines, next season.
Right.
And they're finally touching base on one of the most, like the biggest underlying ones that can put my foot in my mouth about long-term storytelling.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? And finally address something. Now, and I have 2 criticisms about this.
Okay, sure.
Number 1, and I will praise it before I criticize.
Okay.
I loved this segment. I love that they are finally touching on this topic, that they are finally touching such a, I guess, like Reddit hot subject that could blow up very easily, and a bunch of arguments as to who could come out on top between the 4 of these guys. So I'm excited to see it. I'm stoked to see this storyline pan out. My 2 criticisms, though, is number 1, this storyline has to be done well.
It does.
This is I feel like that you could either not make or break the company, but this storyline could be either a huge flop or a huge win for AEW.
Yeah,
and
a defining moment for all 4 of these guys.
I think Tony Khan needs to keep the mentality of not looking at a fantasy booking aspect. Look at it as a storyline. Look at all those things that he always talks about with WCW and old WWE, WWF, WWF. Like, look at the storylines that were used and build similar ones with this. So that's my number one criticism. Is this has got to be done the right way, or it could sink this storyline at any point.
Absolutely.
My only other criticism was when this event happened, when the 4 of them were standing there, we had, let's see if I got this right. We had Jack Perry go first, and he did his 1.5, 2-minute monologue. Sammy Guevara went and did his 1.5, 2-minute monologue, and at that point we're like, okay. And then once we got to Darby Allin, I just felt like we were doing the same bit between all 3 people. I felt like I was watching a WWE video game.
Sure.
And they just copied and pasted depending on who you had allegiances with
right.
first. And it just, by the time it hit Darby, it felt a little stale. And I don't know how you could do it without doing all 3 of them doing these fucking separate promos.
He just got, unfortunately, the short end of the stick.
Right, because you had Jungle Boy Jack Perry vying for how he's carried himself through tag teams, and he's had betrayals, and
had these huge pay-per-view matches and won.
Right, and then you've got Sammy Guevara, who was supposed to be a jobber that then broke that mold and then became one of their top performers.
Right.
And then you have Darby Allin, who never gave up being the person that he is.
Right. Who benefits from staying,
And it just, like, by the time it got to him, we're like, okay, we're done. Like, this is the 3rd guy with the fucking sob story.
Of course, unfortunately.
And if he would have gone first, he would have been just as good as Jack Perry was.
Exactly.
It just,
I did
that
like
was
that
my only critique with this segment.
Okay, so really, honestly, you didn't have anything. It really wasn't that big of a critique.
I didn't know my critiques weren't anything.
No, that really wasn't much of a critique.
No,
you know?
It was just I felt like they could have done it a little bit better if they would have kept their segments a little bit, or their monologues a little bit.
I 100% agree, but it worked out well. It got the intention across.
100%. It got the point there.
And I think the reason that we're finally getting to this, or at least the accumulation of everything that's happened, why we're getting to this, when CM Punk and the backstage brawl and all that stuff happened, it seemed like AEW shifted from, like you were saying before, these Tony Khan dream matches to who's holding this company up.
It felt like they started doing damage control for what they were doing.
They had to step back and be like, who do we need to rely on? You know, and now you have Wardlow, you have Will Hobbs, you have Jamie Hayter, you have all these people who, like, people probably didn't know about.
It feels like they reconstructed everything.
Huge stars, you know, exactly. And they're trying to do that with Riho again. They're trying to bring her back into it, and it's refreshing because these are like original people that they're trying to breathe life back into. That's what I like about these 4 pillars. Is it feels like that they're trying to breathe life back into these staples of AEW and remember why people started watching this promotion in the first place.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Great.
It's been amazing. And I'm loving that they're finally on to that point. They've still got your Jerichos, you've still got your Moxleys, and they're doing what they're doing, but they're no longer, they're not the focus of the company. They're a portion of the company, contributing to the company, but the focus is now on those homegrown AEW stars.
Yeah, I mean, think about the stars that you have right now. And I can't think of all of them, but you have MJF, Jamie Hayter, Jade Cargill,
Britt Baker.
Well, she's not a champion.
Well, no,
but
okay.
You know what I mean? Like the people who are current champions, the Guns, these are all AEW like originals who have been around for a while that AEW has blown up into these huge stars. Look at the Acclaimed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you've never heard the story of how Anthony Bowens and Max Caster got into the tag team,
we've talked about
it, but Tony Khan legitimately made that happen.
He looked at these two and just said, you two would work good together. I don't know what you would do, but you look good. Right. You would look good together. Put them together, and all of this was developed naturally.
It was natural, and yeah, the tag team name was supposed to be for what were they before
The JAS. It was supposed
the Inner Circle.
That's right. That's
The
right.
Acclaimed was supposed to be the Inner Circle, and Chris Jericho passed on it, and Tony Khan said, "You two are going to be the Acclaimed."
And Bubba Ray's even explained this with the Was Up when they did the headbutt.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that they tried doing, and they didn't think it would get over.
Yeah,
Devon hated
scissoring,
it.
you know?
Yeah, Devon hated it initially, and then they did it, and the crowd was just like, oh my God. And he even said, it's the stupid things you don't think would get over that do get over. The scissoring, scissoring daddy ass.
The Sammy and the
ass
Usos.
boys.
Because
Yep.
they know each other, so they have a handshake, and the handshake was like, oh, they did the handshake.
Yeah.
But they've been doing that for years.
Right.
It's the things that organically come up that are just so good, and I think that's what's great about what AEW is doing is they're saying,
especially with
these
this storyline.
stars need to shine. So
And
it's a lot of
starting to.
pressure. They have some great people that are backstage that are working on producing and writing and creative and that have the capability to make whatever they're working on with MJF work. Because obviously this was supposed to go with CM Punk, but they had to go a different route. I think what happened with Bryan was fantastic.
Oh,
wow,
was
that
an
was one of the
amazing
best
match.
AEW rivalries there ever was.
I'm sad to see the way that the whole thing with CM Punk, quote unquote, has ended. We still haven't seen like a conclusion to everything. He's still under contract, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm sad to see that it ended that way and it changed the pathway of AEW in the way that it did. But in retrospect, while we sit here in March 19th, 2023, I'm reluctantly super happy that it did go down that way.
I think it worked out
and
for the best.
And it is now the direction that it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I think good, bad, or indifferent, whatever CM Punk did, if he comes back, doesn't come back, if he was wrong, if he wasn't wrong, if the Young Bucks were wrong, I think at this point it doesn't matter.
No.
If it's repairable, I think great. If not, whatever. But I think CM Punk did what he sought out to do in order to push this company to where it needed to go. Whether he did it while he was in there for the 9 months,
intentionally or not,
whether he's still going to do it before his contract ends, or whether we've seen the last of CM Punk in wrestling altogether, I think that event, good, bad, or indifferent, pushed this company to where it's like we need to stop relying on talent that is tried and
outside
true,
talent,
and we need to put our trust in the talent that we have.
Exactly.
Because the talent that we have is going to be the backbone, the John Cenas, the Rocks, the Stone Colds,
exactly.
the fucking Undertakers of AEW. They're the ones that are going to be, and it might not be Kenny Omega, whether he goes to AEW or stays in AEW, goes to WWE, but it needs to be these young 20-year-old guys that are hungry for a position in a company that's willing to give it to them.
Right.
And I feel like this is finally AEW has reconstructed the structure of their roster and giving more people that deserve it the opportunity to shine at the top of this company.
I agree.
And
it's been refreshing.
This is like just the beginning of hopefully more storylines that we'll see involving all of those people in just
Absolutely.
those, in this capacity.
Yep, I agree. All right, as far as coverage for AEW and WWE, that is going to do it for the week. Let's talk a little bit about the matches that are upcoming. Start with AEW Dynamite again. Let's just thank you, Tony Khan, for booking Kenny Omega. I'm sorry, and El Hijo del Vikingo.
There, I did it. I tried a big long, real quick one. And I feel like
great.
I got it.
Woo!
Woo! Podcast is a success. I have said words.
Hailing only in second place to how exciting of a match that match is going to be is Hook versus Stokely Hathaway.
Oh my God, this is
a
going
no
to be
DQ match. If you did not see,
I forgot it's going to be a no DQ match.
If you did not see on Rampage, like the setup with Matt Hardy and
Ethan Page,
Isaiah Cassidy are trying to teach Stokely how to take bumps and wrestle.
They were just beating the shit out of Stokely and be like, no, we're just getting you hardened for it. We're getting your body ready for it.
It was great. You could tell, obviously, they were getting their licks and getting their laps finally back at Stokely. Stokely was all excited about a cookie. It was great. Can't wait for this match. I have no idea what we're doing, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. The Guns are going to be taking on Top Flight for the AEW Tag Team Championships.
And they also still have their bags. They had a backstage segment. They was at their hotel. They thought they were the bag boys, so they tossed their bags at them, and they talked shit for a little bit, set up this match, and left their bags. So interesting to see if they even have their wrestling gear.
I think that's what they're going with. They have to fight in their
naked
regular clothes.
They'll be the ass boys.
Also,
they'll be showing their asses.
Yeah, Jon Moxley and Stu Grayson will be.
Welcome back, Stu.
Welcome back, Stu.
Stu Grayson's All Elite again, re-signed with AEW.
This is a grudge match because he will be taking on Jon Moxley because he put Evil Uno in the hospital.
Again? I feel like he already got put in the hospital. I feel like every time Evil Uno fights Mox, he ends up going to the hospital. Maybe he should chill out.
This is just a grudge match between the two of them. And also Tony Storm with Saraya, and you put Tony Storm.
That wasn't me. I copied and pasted this, so it wasn't me. So it'll be Tony Storm with Saraya
will be taking
and Ruby
on
Soho.
Sky Blue.
Sky Blue. Poor Sky Blue. She's gonna be Sky Green by the time they're done.
Give it a few more years. She's gonna be having the TBS championship, something like that.
Oh, no doubt.
She is fantastic. They're building her up. Started on Dark.
More
She's
mic
moving
work.
Up.
These girls need to be on the mic more.
Agreed, but
they
Madison
need to be better
Rayne
on the
has
mic
been
and
doing
more on the
a
mic.
really good job. The training and the athleticism has improved tremendously in Sky Blue, so at least she's getting steady TV time and doing a really good job.
I wish we weren't getting an hour worth of reality TV after AEW. Was it March 31st? That All Access, whatever that stuff is.
Yeah.
I wish we weren't getting some reality TV
I think it's the
shit.
29th.
Whatever, because I wish they'd be able to commit that hour to another wrestling show or wrestling hour, because I can't stand that drama shit. And I don't want like the whole Total Divas.
Well,
and the
it's
Bellas
also
and,
like taking over for the Cody Rhodes, like Rhodes to the Top show.
I couldn't stand that shit either.
Well, yeah, we never watched that either. Understandable. So a little bit weird, but I guess it's just one of those things that people do like reality TV.
Oh, for sure. I see
I'm sure it's gonna sell.
Yeah, I see. You know, they're gonna have the AEW fans that want to watch it, and I understand it.
Yeah.
Like, I get the marketability of it. I just can't stand it personally.
Well, that's okay. It's not for everybody.
I know.
That's why it's after Dynamite.
I know. Besides, that's pretty really late for me. I'm a tired boy.
Agreed.
I feel like that's like running theme every time we do a podcast. I have to mention how tired I am. I'm tired now.
That's it for AEW Dynamite as far as the matches go so
far.
We've
got also got Raw next week, which we'll have Roman Reigns will be returning to the Red Brand.
Okay.
We were just talking about we haven't seen hide or tail of him
where you been?
For about 2 weeks, so he will be coming back. Logan Paul will be also hosting an episode of his Impulsive TV.
Okay.
Apparently, The Miz is expecting to be a guest on there. No confirmation whether he will or not.
Okay.
We also have Austin Theory will be taking on Montez Ford, probably the most exciting part that they've announced so far.
Of course.
And Chelsea Green and Carmella will be taking on Asuka and Bianca Belair.
Okay, I didn't know about that. Why?
Well, you know, you had Bianca Belair was
feuding?
taking on Chelsea Green, I believe, last week on Raw. They had Asuka come out. I don't know.
But why would you have Asuka and Bianca Belair team up together when they're facing each other at WrestleMania?
Because they're both faces.
Weird.
Right? And also Chelsea Green and Carmella, obviously, a tag team.
I mean, love that.
That's great. That's
like,
great.
No joke. Love that.
And then also we have on SmackDown, all we have announced so far is Rey Mysterio versus LA Knight. I don't remember seeing this on SmackDown. Maybe we were out of the room or something.
Okay.
LA Knight walked up to Rey Mysterio and said, you know, I need a WrestleMania match. I'd be more than happy to beat your son's ass WrestleMania.
Yeah, it looked like Rey got mad about that.
He smacked him.
Why? He should have been like, thank you for taking care of my son for me. Like,
I don't know. I mean, if you walked up to me and said, you know, hey, you're even though your daughter's being a little bit of a bitch, you know, I'll pop her in the mouth. I'd be like, you don't get to pop my daughter in the mouth, bro.
I guess so.
But, yeah, so that's what we have for
SmackDown.
So far, we don't have anything for Rampage. Or nothing announced, at least, which is surprising, but I'm sure we'll hear something.
Of course.
We also have ROH will be coming up Thursday. I don't even know what's happening on ROH. At least this coming
Honor Club.
Oh, yeah, we got to go back and rewatch it, apparently, because I missed everything. But, exciting week.
Yeah,
lots of wrestling.
Exciting week.
We got We got WWE's on Monday and Friday. We got AEW's on Wednesday and Friday. We've got
ROH on Thursday.
and Impact on Thursday. Tuesday, I feel like you got Dark and Elevation on Monday and Tuesday. There's wrestling literally every day of the week. You've got, if you're up at 5:30 in the morning, they have the finals of the NJ Cup will be on Tuesday between David Finlay and starts with an S, and I can't remember. It's all
Mark
caps.
Davis.
Mark Davis ended up losing, which damn it. But that's going to be a good one.
Close your eyes and count to fuck.
Close your eyes and count to fuck. If you get that reference, then you are my new best friend. But that will do it for us here at Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook at CAW Wrestling Pod, where we live tweet every week. Raw, Smackdown, JPW, ROH, whatever we can get our tiny little fingers into.
Please do us a favor. Tell your friends about us. Share us on social media. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. Write up something awesome. Let people know why they need to listen to Mark and I talk about, what we love about wrestling.
And same thing with Spotify. You can write a review, I believe, on there, but the point that matters, and it only takes you a few seconds, is just hit us on that 5-star. Same thing with the Apple. If you don't want to write us a review, that's fine. Just hit us on
5
that 5-star.
stars is so much appreciated. Make sure you screenshot it, share it on social media, and we will do our best to shout you out on the podcast.
And remember, we post every Monday a new episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. We do also extra bonus episodes every so often whenever we feel like it, or there's a lot of content. And coming up, Wrestlemania week, there's going to be a lot of content. So that is definitely one to make sure you watch out for multiple episodes. But every Monday, I think we post this at I end up posting it at 4:30 in the morning, so I can make sure that it gets up there and before I leave for work. So every Monday we post, and thank you so much for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at GunkDumbly.
And I'm at A Bacon Party.
We will catch you in the next one.